StarCast, the StarCraft podcast, is a production of AMove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for other great esports and video game podcasts. Want to support StarCast? Check out our sponsors over at doghousesystems.com, makers of some of the best gaming systems out there. If you use the code StarCast at checkout, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system and support StarCast directly in the process. That same code, StarCast, will get you 30% off and free shipping over at tweakedaudio.com. They make high-performance, noise-reducing earbuds. We'd like to thank our sponsors for their support of StarCast, and if you'd like to sponsor an episode directly, you can do so at thestarcast.com.
Hell, it's about damn time for StarCast.
Incoming transmission.
Biscuit.
Hello and welcome back to episode 181 of StarCast, the StarCraft podcast. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and I am joined, as I always am, by Kyle Ferguson. Hey, Kyle. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Garrett?
I'm okay. I've got a wicked canker sore on the roof of my mouth, of all places.
So, I always get confused with canker sores. Are those the ones that you got and you can never get rid of? They're related to hemorrhoids?
No.
Is this the you have drinking too much citrus problem that I have from time to time?
Yes, that's exactly what that is. And sometimes they get more inflamed than other times. And this one's really bad. It's actually quite hard for me to talk. So if I get tripped up over my words or just tell Kyle to start talking while I just cower in pain because it sounds like someone's stabbing the roof of my mouth, that is why.
Wow. So what'd you do? Just down a whole bag of Sour Patch Kids or something?
No, actually, I think I cut the roof of my mouth with a tortilla chip.
Oh.
And then it just got inflamed.
Oh, okay. Well, you live in Florida, so I just assume they have, instead of milkmen, they have orange juice men that come around every morning.
I do enjoy my orange juice, but actually this started happening right when I got a new jug, so I stayed the hell away from it because I know what happens. So it didn't help because I'm still in a lot of pain, and yeah. So just forewarning, if I stop talking or get choked up, that's why.
Boy, this whole week was just full of real-life situations, wasn't it? And
yes.
I messed up last week, so I apologize, everyone. It was my fault there was no show last week. I agreed back before the holidays, actually during my wedding, to come down for Christmas to my in-laws, my now in-laws. And then, of course, Christmas is just stupid expensive to fly during. So we bought tickets before Christmas. I completely forgot, and we went down there this past weekend.
Kyle, forgetting about something important, I've never experienced this from you before in my life. It wasn't like I was told a whole whopping day before your wedding that I had to come up with vows to say.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Or,
I thought you were trying to give me a bad rep or something. Like, I work hard on these shows. But no, when it comes to
these shows you're great. But like all other life stuff that I get, if I'm involved in anything non-podcast related in your life, I don't know about it till like days before it happens.
Yeah, I like to live fast and free, and
Which,
the rest of the world doesn't really fly that way.
Yeah, which isn't to say lately I haven't been a completely scatterbrained either, but I feel like I'd remember an air flight, so I feel like giving you just a tiny ration of shit for that. But
it's perfectly understandable. I ruined the show last week, and hell, we got it's like Blizzard said, the Christmas holidays are going to last through January, but come February 6th, like everyone wake up and get to work.
Pretty much. A lot of StarCraft stuff to cover this week, especially since we took a week off. Before we get into that, I just wanted to congratulate last week's winner of BarcraftApparel.com's weekly giveaway. It was a Zood, or on Twitter, at the Zicuzio. Just really rolls off the tongue. He won a shirt and a bottle opener. If you would like to enter this giveaway, just all you have to do is tweet and make sure that at Barcraft Apparel and at the StarCast is in that tweet, and you'll be entered for a free giveaway. BarcraftApparel.com, by the way, sent you and I both some shirts, and if you're watching the video feed, I've got one on right now that says I Beer SC, which has quickly become one of my new favorite shirts. These things are so soft.
They are. Like,
oh my God.
They have that nice kind of like rustic, almost like Express Men kind of t-shirt look, and then they're so silky. And I got a whole box of them, and I must say though, the etched glass from their website is probably my favorite thing in there.
Oh, I have a new favorite T-shirt and a new favorite beer glass.
Yep.
So thank you very much, Barcraft Apparel. Yeah, they're just they're not even sponsoring us. They're just like, hey, can we give stuff away on your show? And we were like, hell yeah, you absolutely can give stuff away to our listeners. So again, tweet at them at Barcraft Apparel, include at the StarCast in there, and you'll be entered for next week's giveaway. Let's get right into it. David Kim did a Q&A this week, of which Kyvax, one of the community managers, said that it was a heavily moderated exercise.
Yes, it's kind of fun. It's like they have to wheel him out. Like we have our StarCraft moderators, and they're just like pushing David Kim out the door. He's like, no, and he's like holding onto the table.
When you said wheel him out, the first thing I thought of was Hannibal Lecter.
I like that mental image.
Just David Kim strapped to essentially a human-sized dolly with a face mask on so he can't bite people.
Well, he's been working there for a while. He's already upgraded to the bird cage.
Okay. All right. And soon he will cut off Chris Siggety's face and wear it so he can escape.
But it's really cool that Blizzard's starting to do this stuff. I mean, we've had people like Ghostcrawler, or formerly Ghostcrawler, doing the tweets and doing that for World of Warcraft, and they kind of found their way to take such a huge project, such a huge team, and kind of reach out to people. And then with the smaller teams, Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm, like they are able to get a little more personal.
They're just incredibly open. Doing another show about Hearthstone, I've been really surprised. Doing Blizzard podcasts for like 3+ years now, that how open the Hearthstone team is talking about stuff.
Well, it's perfectly understandable. I mean, look at the size of the company. You go from Warcraft 3 days to height of World of Warcraft. I mean, that team is just huge.
Yeah.
And to keep things that small and kind of personal and have that community feel, I feel like they're just getting back into it, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like having these tiny project teams has really let them refocus on kind of what gaming is for fun for them, creating them.
So there was some really good questions asked, and we're going to highlight a few of them right here. A lot of them, you might notice a bias towards making Protoss less OP and getting them the hell out of my games because I'm sick of seeing them. Kyle and I might be a little sick of Protoss this week. So first up on the highlights, they asked, why are the developers so resistant toward the idea of changing warp gate and force fields? And David Kim said that every race, they want every race to feel unique and asymmetric. We like the design of warp gates. Warp gates were problematic in the past when 1 or 2 base all-ins were too common, but we've addressed this a lot in the past years. He goes on to say that we get a lot of feedback from the forums saying there's no micro anyone can do against force fields. However, we just don't see this. He goes on to say, for example, why do Zerglings or Roaches try to bait out force fields if micro against them is not possible? Saying that in and of itself is micro against force fields, which I would agree with. He also said that Terran players picking up units on one side of the force field and dropping them on the more favorable side is another good example, which I also agree with, and I do get quite excited when that happens.
Yeah, I would agree that force fields feel like they last a little too long. In game, they're fine. But as a spectator, once something's trapped and it's dead, you're just watching it die, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends. I mean, obviously your excitement as a spectator depends on how much of an effect that trapping has on the rest of the game. Like, if it gets like 6 Zerglings, it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But if you catch like a good chunk of a marauding death ball from Terran or something, or I don't know. Clearly, as a player, yes, I'm constantly going, oh, what the hell, when half of my army just gets cut in half, and I am terrible at this game and can do nothing about it.
Yeah, and if you're a Zerg player, getting your ramp force field is about one of the most infuriating things on Earth.
Yes.
But, and I love that the game isn't convoluted. And during this all, like, I'm going to have, like, my own thoughts, which this is a nice community show. No one's calling themselves pro here, so let's, experiment a little bit. Like, if I had to come up with something to fix this right now, it would be that when you actually like surround someone in force fields, you increase the damage, but they only last like half as long. That's the only problem with me as a spectator. In game, it's amazing when someone actually does that, like completely just random. It just looks like they go 2 2 2 2 and just things happen, and for some reason, your Hydras got stuck on that one back there, and your Roaches ran ahead, but they all died because of mortals. And it's not a perfect trap, but it works wonders for them, and that's always impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, I feel like he shot himself a little bit in the foot in this statement, because at the end of this paragraph, he says, "That's just StarCraft. If DTs come in and I have no detectors, I'm dead. But that doesn't mean there was nothing I could have done." And this upset a lot of people.
How so? Because I kind of agree with him.
Well,
it's a very good point.
But that's
like, oh no, air came in and I couldn't shoot up because I didn't tech correctly.
Right, and that's kind of one of the problems people see with StarCraft when compared to Brood War, because in Brood War, and granted, like, I'm no Brood War expert, but my understanding, and if from the games I've played, it's certainly true, things were a bit more clunky. So if a DT were to get into your mineral line, one, you can't just kind of like shift click and like, you know, queue everything up and it's just going to go wonderful because he attacks so fast and he moves so swiftly and so smoothly and never gets like hung up on anything. So if a DT was in your base in Brood War, you probably actually did have time to do something about it. Whereas in the current game, no detection, those DTs are so swift and so clean in their movements that they'll just obliterate your base. And this comes down to the kind of essential crux of the problem that people see with StarCraft, and that is it's all about scouting, which is completely insane because you and I have been saying on this show for years now that you need to scout to win, and that's how the game is played.
Yes.
But in Brood War, if you made a mistake, there weren't as many hard counters, and because of that, the units you had, you could make do with while you made something else. It wasn't like, oh crap, here come the tons of Void Rays I didn't know were being produced, and I have nothing to counter them.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I totally disagree with any point you were trying to make about DTs and Brood War versus DTs now. I will always just say, no, I'm sorry that this game is better designed. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, if people are bitching because, well, Brood War was not as well a designed game, so it took more skill to play, and I'm like, okay, I respect that. But it's insane to think that you should design poor pathing to make it harder to play so that you can respect the pros more.
Right, and just like try to wall off something in Brood War. It's a mess. Most Evil makes a good point in the chat room that one of the other problems with Force Field is that they dictate map design because you can't have certain architectural features that would allow single force fields to just dominate.
Okay.
So let's, you have two cliffs making a choke in the middle of the map. Guess what? That's a huge buff for Protoss on that map, because they're the only ones that could do something with that.
Right. Okay. But this is where I just go, why is anything anything? Anything you put in the game is going to make the game work in a certain goddamn way.
Yeah. No, but it is odd that this one sort of low-tier unit for Protoss is dictating an entire map base.
I mean, personally, I think overall it's just kind of people are reacting with louder voices right now because the issue with Protoss in general is that their early game defense is damn near impenetrable. So it just kind of seems like, well, why the hell do they even need an early unit that makes their defense even better?
Yeah.
It just seems with the inclusion of Time Warp and the inclusion of Photon Overcharge and the Mothership Core, it's just like, well, now the Sentry is just icing on top of a bullshit cake.
Right. Well, I watched DRG do a run by and have nothing happen because of there was enough energy for two Photon Overcharges.
I got I watched that game. I got so excited for that and was like, what the hell just happened?
Well, he hit the I don't lose button. It's good that all races don't have this, but it is rather
it's sad that only one does.
Yeah, well, and Nexus Wars is a custom map, and you get a nuke. So no matter how hard you push and dominate early on in that custom game, you just go, nope, game continues for 30 minutes. And you're like, well, I just kind of wanted to end it there. We were having a good time, weren't we?
Moving on, one of the questions was, what are your plans in order to make forgotten units, such as Battlecruiser, Broodlord, Viper, etc., usable in high-level matches? David Kim said that we prefer not to do design changes in a patch if we can. because changing how the unit functions completely will be very confusing to players. I so disagree with every word in this sentence.
Yeah. I mean, he did go on in this statement to say some things like, we don't want them to be so good that they lose their sort of fan base, which I can agree with. If they weren't special, I mean, if every Terran army showed up with 5 battle cruisers, it'd be a pretty lame affair.
If Terrans ever used any goddamn battle cruisers, it'd be kind of cool, don't you think? Wouldn't it be interesting if they were actually a good unit?
But his point is that they're special for a reason, and sadly, what makes them so special is it's like, I'm winning so hard, I can use the fan favorite unit.
It's swag. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, I have so much money, I already have an Escalade. How can I make it more obnoxious? I know, I'll put spinners on it.
Right. Maybe we need to supply cap really rich, like, pro players and such. I'm sorry, you can't have a Shark Tank fish pool.
Like, I disagree. Like, I read this as, I don't know. I realize he's clearly not trying to just say, I don't know.
I can hear it. I can hear it in your voice. You're trying to say that he thinks we're all dumb. Is that like?
No, like, I think what he's saying is just, I look at this and I'm just like, well, if they're useless and no one's using them, there's a problem and you should address it. Not just because it's not an expansion doesn't mean you shouldn't do something about it.
It's a major problem with the model they use on StarCraft. And it's really interesting. Like 2 weeks ago, go back, listen to that interview we talked about for Heroes of the Storm. And they're talking about like how great it is that they're building systems they can just patch things whenever they want. And we're kind of like, well, what? We don't need a box. Like, just fix things for us. And I mean, we are seeing things in other esports games. I mean, like, take Dota. You'll just wake up one morning and ability is completely different.
Yep.
And that's not that big of a deal. Now, granted, there's only 3 races, and if you're bound to 1 in 3 chance to be playing that race, and oh my god, everything's different. But if you go like high end tier, like, that is the safest thing to possibly change.
Right. It just boils down to, if you can change it, why not? If you have the ability, if it would make the game better, do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no excuse. This isn't the days of Nintendo, which Nintendo are still trapped in, where it's just like, the game that shipped, deal with it. I guess wave dashing is now a way to play the game.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Well,
moving on. You can tell I'm a little cranky today.
Well, it makes, like, if you're using the philosophy that all units are countered by scouting, then a lot of these units, such as Battlecruiser, Broodlord, Carrier's not on this list for some reason, but I mean, maybe that's just like the star child. They didn't even want to bring it up. It's like forgotten units, Carrier, just like...
Carrier's so forgotten, we don't even bother mentioning it.
Yeah, it's already in the list. But you can see that sort of thing coming. Maybe make it easier to see coming and power up the unit.
Well, how would you make it easier to see coming?
Well, if you're scouting, like, you have to get... Terran with the battlecruiser is probably the most obvious, because you have to have the starport and the special attachment and the fusion core. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, moving on. They asked, what are your thoughts on the current state of ZVZ? I notice a lot of games tend to be so close that a single misclick is the difference between winning and losing a game. Is that really considered balance? He said that we do feel like players are favoring mass roach play a lot more recently. That's why we've been exploring potential Hydralisk buffs. Going on to say that believing that a Hydralisk buff in this matchup could bring the Roach Hydra mix in quicker to combat only Roach compositions. He said the advantage of this is that in Roach versus Roach, the defender's advantage is smaller than in Roach versus Roach Hydra. Therefore, we could potentially see units that counter these compositions, such as Ultralisk or Broodlords, a bit more. And to this, I'm just like, but Roach aggression is early, and Ultralisks and Broodlords aren't anywhere near the menu when this happens. I'm confused.
Well, his line of logic is someone goes mass roaches against you, and you using this new buff that might be coming, which does come, we'll talk about that in a moment, is how you transition out of that. Instead of just being like, oh crap, he has a ton of roaches, I need just as many roaches, and hopefully I have some tech on them already.
All right.
So you can kind of make that jump up to Hydralisk, and then when player 2 has Hydraless Roach and you're stuck with all these roaches, you go, crap, I need something like Ultraless or Brood Lords now.
Okay. So it makes it a little more interesting. You actually get some tech switching as opposed to, oh, I have one more dude, I win.
Right. It's interesting that it just kind of says, well, that's the way ZVZ goes. You know, you misclick and it's such a fast-paced game. This isn't going to fix the sort of magic banelings and ling battles that you can get in the middle, in just the early game of ZVZ. But hey, not watching Roach versus Roach is always a plus.
Yes, it is. Finally, the last one we're going to highlight. Why is StarCraft 2 so much more deathbally than Brood War? Have you thought about changing SC2 to allow for battles that last longer and let players more easily recover from setbacks? To which David Kim said, we don't like seeing games where two players both just sit back and match up their composition before engaging. This is why we're currently looking into the EU late game PvZ issue. EU late game PvZ issue is going to be my next band name, by the way. He said that the end goal in this area is, in our opinion, is not to get rid of mass army versus mass army scenarios, but more so to have a lot of action, a lot of harassment opportunities, and have each game feeling different. All right.
Right. So the issue he's talking about here is the swarm host mass static defense against Protoss, where you just try to lock them in their base, and it takes a very long time to end the game this way. Mm-hmm. This is a lot different than the sort of death ball things we saw at the end of Wings of Liberty, where it was just, I've made my perfect army. Do you have your perfect army? Good, let's fight.
Does your Mothership Vortex work on the Broodlords? Okay, you win. Did it not? Okay, you lose.
Yeah, that neural parasite, that was a wacky time in the game.
Yeah.
But I have to disagree with, and he brought this up a lot, and he continues to bring it up through every single interview he's done, and he talks always about harassment opportunities. And he talks about them as being an important part of the viewer's enjoyment. And I'm not sure that is. Maybe something like Brood War, or like we see in Starbow, would be better, where we actually see, like, armies die, and, you know, two forces meet, one of them dies, but it's not the end of the world. By the time you push the other guy's base, he's got the next thing ready, or they're just smaller armies and different engagements throughout the game because you're getting more money along the way. That's how it works in Starbow.
So you're just saying that you find smaller armies engaging on the field more interesting to watch than babysitting your mineral line?
Exactly. Like, watching a guy get his minerals picked by an oracle is not fun. All I'm thinking is, boy, that's really annoying for that guy. I hope he gets super pissed and, like, you know, goes Saiyan on the dude. But it's not that kind of game. Like, you're not racking up combo points before you can finally unleash your devastating attack.
Yeah.
So you have to harass in this game to be successful, but I'm not sure it's the viewer experience that David Kim thinks it is.
I don't disagree with you for once. Usually I'm like, no, who cares about Brood War? But no, you make a good point. You make a very good point. I feel about Oracle Harass the way I currently feel about Murloc decks in Hearthstone. Oh, wow, you're so creative. Moving on.
Some of us do think we're creative. Actually, no, I haven't invested in that.
You shouldn't.
Business.
You are a talented person.
I've got a legendary to save up for here.
So that's that. You can see the thing in its entirety over at the official StarCraft site. We've got links in the show notes over at emove.tv/StarCast. Moving on to the next bit. We had a patch back on February 4th of last week, which I'm not going to go too deep into this because we've talked about all of these changes at length because they were part of the last balanced test map. But here's what made it through. The Protoss Mothership Core Time Warp energy is now increased. It costs 100, up from 75. So
cool.
Huzzah, bring it on. and then Terran, the Ghost starting energy has been increased to 75, up from 50. On top of that, the Mobius reactor upgrade has been removed from the Ghost Academy. So, bring out your ghosts.
Because I saw so many this last week.
Did you?
No. I don't think I've seen a single ghost. I'm sure I missed some ghosts, but
they're not a low skill friendly unit.
No.
Not at all. You want to talk about something you need to babysit?
Yeah. They were a little easier. No, they weren't. They've never been easy. They've just been easy when I'm playing against friends who don't know how to play and I nuke people. I don't think I've seen a nuke in a long time.
Yeah, it's rough stuff. So let's move right into the next round of balance test changes that are going to be tested, or these aren't currently being tested, right?
These are coming soon right now.
Coming soon.
As of yesterday, so.
Okay, very cool. First up, Protoss changes that are being looked at. Mothership core, they're considering reducing its vision radius from 14 to 9, which is quite the quite the reduction there. Also, but someone, I'm assuming this came from Reddit, made this awesome visual of all of the changes suggested in this patch.
Yeah, you're going from a unit that's in the air, pretty much an Overlord's view sight, seeing up cliffs, nice, big, it's flying after all, to about the side of like a Ling. You're still flying, you can see up a cliff, but man, this is small.
Yeah, exactly. It's or I was thinking it looks like pylons line of sight or something.
Yeah.
So, Stalker.
It's interesting because in programs, I don't see a mothership core flying out by itself to like harass a mineral line. Maybe this is going to help a lot in lower tier leagues because that kind of thing happens and can be extremely annoying and successful. But otherwise, you should be moving out with something with your mothership core, and it's gonna get sight from those units, and its attack radius hasn't changed. So it's kind of a weird change. I see why they're doing it. They want the mothership to put itself in a more precarious position in order to give the sight for the blinks, which are the problem right now.
Right. So, speaking of blink, Stalkers, they're thinking about increasing the cooldown of blink from 10 to 15. Which, this seems rough. Like, I would be really surprised if this made it through.
It's a long cooldown. It's enough to like get up in a base, run to the mineral line, snipe a few things, walk all the way back to the cliff, and then jump out. But right now, what you can pretty much do is you blink in, and then you fight for a little bit, and then you blink further in, and then you fight for a little bit, and then you blink a little further, and then you work your way back out. And it's a little silly.
Yeah. But I don't know, are you arguing in favor of this? I don't know. I agree with chat room. I think this is a bit too drastic, a little too heavy-handed.
I'd like to see where the vision goes first, because that is going to be a crucial factor in getting those blinks into a base.
Well, right. That's almost, I was reading a lot of the pros' thoughts. There's a wonderful, wonderful article, actually, if you head over to teamliquid.net right now, and you look for February 10th, proposed changes, pro opinions.
Not to mention, they've got great pictures for this. I love that they added like some glasses on the mothership core. And
yeah, it's some really good thoughts and opinions from a wide variety of pro players. But that mothership core vision decreases. It seems specifically targeted towards these blink builds. I don't know. It's been I don't know. My StarCraft patch history that well. When was the last time they even messed with blink? Have they? I feel like it's been like gospel for a long time.
They mess with the price a bunch. I remember that happening. And
right.
I remember the research time of it being an issue. But I don't think
But blink itself, like the actual ability, I'm finding, you feel free to write us starcastshow@gmail.com and correct us, but I'm pretty damn sure it hasn't been touched in a very long time, if ever.
Kid Bags Kid Bags.
That sounds dirty.
That yeah, I'm sorry. That makes me giggle. In the chat is saying that the issue is the cannon. If you're talking about the photon overcharge, the cast radius isn't changing. And as long as you're casting on your own building, which you are, you're going to have sight of your own building. So that's not affected here. It's just the unit sight when it's all out by itself in the fog.
Yeah. The Tempest also, they've been talking about this for a little while now, but now they're going to actually test it. The ground weapon damage increased from 30 to 30 plus an additional 30 to structures. So big time damage on buildings.
Yeah, there's a great one of these GIFs here that's demonstrating it. And boy, 2 Tempests can plow through a building right quick.
Yeah.
And I'm all for this. I'm not for it because of, proxy Tempest like hiding out, sniping my hive or anything like that. But I would love to see some Tempest against swarm hosts.
Yeah, I think it'll bring a nice, something new and nice to the game.
And it's the reason you can't get in there right now, because one of your main counters to swarm hosts are going to be air. And what do? You just build a ton of spore crawlers, and that gets rid of the problem. So I'd be happy with this. And it doesn't really have to be an upgrade.
Yeah. Terran, Widowmine change, proposed Widowmine change. They're going to be testing the Widowmine splash damage, dealing an additional 40 damage on top of the already existing 40 damage to shields.
So this one's kind of funny because I really like it, but it doesn't affect me in the least as a Zerg player. So I love this because I love seeing Widowmine changes when I'm watching a PVT, when a Widowmine goes off, or even a TVT, as rare as that is to see. Yeah, you can see them once in a while, a good Widowmine connect, but it's more about tanks and stuff in there. But hey, when you see a good Widowmine connect on units that you are not emotionally attached to, you're like, you stepped on it, and it was awesome. I loved it. Now, when it's Mutalisk flying over these things, I would never want to see an additional 40 damage done to those.
Yeah. I like this change too, and then my initial gut reaction to this though was I'm already so sick of seeing Biomine in TVZ. And now it's just going to be prevalent in TVP.
Right, and my first thought too was I want to see tanks.
Yeah. I feel like that's the end of this conversation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's where it ends. It looks like it's penetrating through the immortal shielding in this GIF. I hope that's wrong, because that would just be wicked insane.
It looks like it. Yeah, according to this GIF. I mean, this clearly was done, someone editing it themselves, so I'm not sure if we can take it at face value, but yeah, that thing is those immortal shields are just gone.
Yeah, and then it looks like too that the 40 damage is being dealt to the shields first, and then the other 40 damage is being dealt after that. So it's not like if the unit only has 10 shields, then it should only be doing 50 damage, which I guess isn't a big deal. And certainly you wouldn't want to put an Archon on top of a mine.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I do actually like the change. I'm just worried
Zerg
about...
Pressure 123 informed us that it is a spell, so it does not get affected by Hardened Shield.
Well, there you go. That would be it.
Those damn burrowed wizards.
There's just some guy down there with a pointy hat and a beard. You shall not continue to live. That's what that wizard would yell.
And I don't think messing with shields is anything sacred. We have bonus versus armor, bonus versus bio. Other than EMP, there's nothing anti-shield anywhere.
I believe you're correct.
And it's the one unit that this can kind of make sense on.
Yeah.
On a tank anti-shield, it's just kind of weird.
Yep. Zerg Hydralisks, they're thinking about decreasing the delay between their attacks from 0.83 to 0.75. So they're going to shoot those spines a little quicker.
Yeah, 10% quicker. It's not the biggest thing in the world. You might get out of a fight with some extra Hydras. It'll definitely help in the Roach battles. I still feel like Starbow has shown us that Hydras are just a core unit, and they should be in the place where Roaches are right now.
I agree. But
that's a huge change.
Then where does that put Roaches, though? At what point do you use Roaches?
Right, and Roaches for me have always been in a really odd place. I love my Roach Den now. I used to hate it absolutely, but now I love it because it's my emergency button. I guess it is my photon overcharge. I see a huge army coming at me, and I just go, crap, hold down R, and make as many Roaches as I can.
Make my Roaches grow.
Exactly, but actually, mobilizing with Roaches, it costs you so damn much in supply to even get all the Overlords into the air before you can get to those guys and have a decent army to play with.
SC Triss in the chat room makes a good point that this does make a lot more sense than the previously kind of just thrown out there idea of reducing their gas price by 25. instead of making them dirt cheap gas-wise, just make them slightly more effective.
Yeah. I mean, if I had my way and I was in control of the balance, I would do something kind of wacky, like make the Hydraless Den a evolution off of the hatchery. So you have your main base that you're upgrading and teching and layer and hive and all that, but then every Zerg has a natural. You turn your natural into the hive. So you're kind of making a choice of going to layer or to get Hydraless early on. But it's still not that long wait, because it's frustrating, particularly with all the Phoenix play recently, to have to rush to Hydras. It feels weird as Zerg to have to be like, oh crap, let me tech to the bread and butter unit. What?
Yeah, no, I agree with you entirely.
I'm sure tons of people just disagree with what I just said, and it's probably the wackiest thing on earth, but I think it'd be cool.
I'm down with it. Bring it on. So there's that. That's all the proposed changes for the next balance test map. So get in there and test that. I'd love to hear what some people's thoughts are. I'm anxious to try out the new Hydralisk. I think this, you say it's not a huge deal, but it's going to snowball. With the more Hydralisks you have, the more you're going to notice this.
Right, most certainly. They're still they play a wonderful role in the Roach Hydra combination. And if you've been there in a ZVZ, you know that even like 3 Hydras can make a world of difference in the back of those Roaches.
I love that you just said that they are a huge component to Roach Hydra, and Hydra is in the name. So thanks for the obvious statement there, Kyle.
Yeah, you're welcome. Would you like me to make up an analogy about how obvious it was for you?
Just funny. They're a really big part. They're 50% of this 50-50 combination.
Well, it's like I was listening to a history show the other day, and they were trying to like give gravitas to World War I, and they were like, World War I was a global conflict, and I was, well, obviously.
World War is in the title. It is the title. So, fun stuff. Blizzard's doing an arcade contest. Now that the arcade is out there and is free to play for everyone, it's looking like they're trying to encourage some creative thinking, because they've got $15,000 in prizes to people who can make the best games in the arcade. So head on over to us.battle.net/arcade to see the rules on that. It looks like that the deadline is May 31st, and there's all kinds of rules and regulations for like how you need to qualify, what you need to name it. But there's some awesome stuff. First place, you get $7,000. You get a developer jam session, which apparently means that the first place winner will get to video conference with select members of the StarCraft 2 dev team. That's awesome. You also get tickets to BlizzCon. They didn't
now
say
that
what
interests me, because
they didn't say what year. I was like, do we know if we're getting one this year?
I know, but they also announced this week that Heroes of the Storm is going to be playable in like full mode at the next BlizzCon. Now, we're assuming there's going to be another year gap, because that's what they did last year, and it seemed to work well for their production schedule.
No, because the year before that they did I think 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
and then they took a gap year.
This could mean that we have a BlizzCon this year.
Could have a BlizzCon this year. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
I hope there's one. I don't like this year in between, but we'll figure it out.
I'd love to see some Legacy of the Void there, wouldn't you?
I'd love to see some StarCraft there, period. I told you I have my grumpy pants on today.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Go check that out if you are even remotely interested in or handy with making custom maps. You could win a lot of money and some sweet ass prizes. So go enter that. And yeah, hey, if you enter, by the way, you got a custom map you want people to try out, write us in starcastshow@gmail.com. We'll promote it here. Moving on to Tespa and Blizzard. Blizzard's rolling out a lot of support for collegiate players. This is what I always forget, what does Tespa stand for? I feel bad.
Join Tespa.
You don't know either.
Now you're putting it on me to. Come on, Tespa. Don't you have like a thesis on your main page?
Anyways, it's pretty awesome. Blizzard's incentivizing people to join Tespa and basically get collegiate StarCraft, teams or groups, and get them in large numbers at their colleges. And dependent on how many members you have in your collegiate StarCraft team, you'll get certain perks from Tespa and Blizzard. And if you go to tespa.org/benefits, they have a great graph showing exactly at what member level you get what perks. And some of these perks are awesome. If you get up to 200 members, you get event sponsorship worth $500. They give you all kinds of swag and stuff. Now, this is looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of like setting up a guild in World of Warcraft. So first you get, on a mailing list and you get your little how-to manual. But the second you get 25 members, I mean, you're starting to go straight up the board. And at 40 members, you get a vinyl banner of your team and swag packs for your first event. At 65 members, hey, you get $300 per year, but to sponsor an event.
Yeah. You get a Heroes of the Storm in-game reward at 65? I need to find a college to enroll in right now.
Well, that's just speaking to clearly some of this esports stuff they're setting up is leading the way for the Heroes of the Storm esports.
Yeah, there's Hearthstone in-game rewards in here as well. So, hey, is it an observer mode? I'd really like that.
Oh, I don't know if you can have an observer mode anymore. I mean, didn't you hear? Riot patented the observer mode.
We literally do not have time.
We're the only ones to ever have a camera that follows a single unit. It's like, what are you even thinking?
Because the teams that cheat in your professional things weren't douchey enough already.
I'm just gonna have to assume that all lawyers and lobbyists are the kids with invincible +10 shields when you played with them in the playground.
Awesome. Moving on to a story that I included here selfishly. MKP and Beyond are returning to StarCraft 2 and the team that they were on, Prime. I'm so excited about this, even though I'm not sure I should be.
Well, he missed the first wave, sadly. And
Yep.
I guess that'll put him behind in points for the year, which is also a shame.
Yeah, but I believe first thing on his list is going to be Pro League Round 2.
Okay.
So, let's see how he goes. I really hope he comes back full force. Beyond, you might remember more fondly as Ghost King. If you didn't remember who he was. He's a guy who couldn't stop changing his name to parodies of Marine King.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really stoked about this. He's back from League of Legends. And according to this article on Team Liquid, he's the fourth to do so, following SC, Puzzle, and Coca, who have all come back from League of Legends.
Yeah.
And
So our understanding is, of course, still that League of Legends in the PC cafes over in Korea is still huge. There's been a Brood War resurgence, but it's also kind of led people who weren't into StarCraft 2 to kind of go, oh, people are watching Brood War. Well, if I stick around longer, then I can watch StarCraft. And now we're kind of seeing, again, a rise of StarCraft 2. This wave, this holiday break, has been one of the weirdest things for esports. Go back to the end of November, like dead forever. And now everyone's just falling out of the woodwork, crashing through the walls, the stucco, and going, hey, is it esports time again?
Yeah, a little bit. So that's great. I mean, if you're a veteran listener of StarCast, you're aware that I'm a raging MKP fanboy, and I welcome him back with open arms.
Sadly, this week, though, we did lose Machine, who retired.
Yes. I'm sad to hear that, although I can't remember the last time I saw him actually play a game.
Yeah, well, our understanding was that he was an incredible teammate, and his name, sort of Machine, was very apt because he would just sit there and be people's practice partners, just day in and day out. So it's sad to see him go from the team, and it sounds like they're looking for some new people, and Team Liquid respond to them looking for people and said, good, get more. We miss beating you in team matches.
That's great. Machine, by the way, one of the most approachable and nice dudes I've ever randomly met at tournaments.
Yeah.
So, sad to see him go. EG, they're like losing all their fan favorites.
They are. I mean, they still got In Control, but he doesn't play, really.
True.
Team manager.
He played like a month ago and actually took a game off Scarlet.
Oh, yeah, there was that event.
That was quite the upset. But yeah, that's it. And obviously they have Jaedong, who's like the definition of fan favorite, but He's, I don't know. I think of Jaedong as like EG 2.0, like he was the second wave.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, most certainly. Sort of the global EG event.
Right. Before.
And I think all the sort of resurgence of esports for StarCraft has also led to a put up or shut up kind of attitude amongst the pros. And a lot of them are either, saying they're in for the year or they're leaving. I mean, we also, if you want to think, kind of lost him. He's been gone for a while. Idra announced that he is done streaming forever and will not be participating as a caster or any sort of host in the future.
Yeah,
and of course, in classic Idra fashion, left saying, all right, so bye now, and I never liked the game anyway.
Good. I'm glad he never changed. Let's talk real quick about some Heroes of the Storm. We have another Storm Watch. This is where we insert this because we want to talk about Heroes of the Storm, and it used to be a StarCraft mod.
I can't find it because someone always talks over it, but I want that perfect sound clip of that cheesy, like, 90s Doppler 7. We're the only one, 2 Dopplers in town.
God, you really need to keep your ADD in check. Anyways, the Alpha client has been leaked all over MMO Champion. Looks like the Friends and Family Alpha is underway at Blizzard. I've tried to get official word from my friends at Blizzard, and they will not tell me. So this is what we got to go on. We got a couple stills from the UI. It looks like there actually is a UI. If you go back and listen to our last time we
People will be playing this game in an efficient manner.
Yeah, last time we had Carbot on, he said that when he got to play it, that there was almost no UI to be seen. They kind of just had to like launch the game with a command prompt and let him play it. But yeah, you can go to MMO-champion.com. It's the very first post. Tons of screens up. Ooh, they've got some new loading screens that weren't here when I looked earlier. Oh, there's a ton of new stuff on here.
Yeah,
I checked much earlier today.
Yeah, this was around 4 o'clock they updated it again. So we've got the 4 maps that this game is going to roll out with. The Haunted Mines, the Cursed Hollow, the Dragonshire, and Black Heart's Bay.
I want wallpapers of all of these. God. Yeah.
It's a little Uther heavy for me, isn't it? No, just Uther appears in 2 of these. And, well, Zeratul given a coin to Blackheart.
That's pretty badass.
But they're all kind of, it's the same sort of system. When you collect the things, it does a different sort of advance your win scenario, though.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing here, though, is they've got, like, what must be in-game write-ups about each hero. And it shows, like, difficulty of playing said hero and all kinds of good stuff. He's got all kinds of stats and whatnot.
Yeah, so it looks like we have the 23 heroes that the game is going to move into beta with. And nothing we haven't seen, really. I don't think any of these come as a... No, none of them are, like, being snuck in at the last minute.
Nope.
I don't think I've seen the female barbarian in action yet.
I actually didn't know that Tychus and Raynor were separate. So they are their own heroes.
That's pretty funny. Well, they talk like they're just going to keep adding forever, and they're going to go for that, 150 and more to see.
Yeah. I just hope this means we get to hear more of Robert Clotworthy and Neil Kaplan talking at each other.
Oh, yeah. You just want, Raynor to pass Kerrigan, say, hey, baby. You want them all to just, when one kills the other, to have some snarky snark to say. Yep. They have a list of abilities, health, and other sorts of things. Right now, it's all X's and Y's. This deals X damage and Y ability. So you're not going to pull any sort of balanced decisions out of this right now.
No. But, I mean, I wouldn't be that worried about it until you can actually play the damn game anyway. Yeah, I was really interested in like what they considered the difficulty of each character to play, and some of them don't have difficulty assigned to them yet. But like Abathur, for example, is considered very hard in difficulty.
Well, sure, that makes sense. He is that crazy support they keep talking about. They added a new ability to him since BlizzCon, where his ultimate makes a copy of a hero, and then he takes control of it, and based on his own personal stats and level at the time, it affects... Well, I guess they're all the same level, but his personal stats. So you have like a sort of different version of a hero. And this could be really cool. Like Abathur is a heavy caster and has like a great mana regen, and you spec him that way over the course of the game. Then you grab someone like Arthas, who is doing a lot of damage, but hey, doesn't have a lot of just a big mana pool to throw around for those awesome spells. You could be like super Arthas if you grab Arthur and get a copy of him.
Yeah, that'd be pretty badass. Oh man, I can't wait to just dig into this game. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And we're gonna disappear for a while, everyone.
Oh,
Where's StarCast? I don't know, but Garrett's got a hella beard. Talking some tournaments this week. IEM, we talked about the $100,000 winner takes all prize pool a couple weeks ago. It has come, it has gone, and spoiler alert, parting is $100,000 richer and a good shit talker on top of that. If you somehow missed it, he had some awesome words to say in his winning match. So go check that out. Did you actually see some of these games, Kyle? I missed IEM entirely.
I think this is all building up to the World Championship still. I'm not sure the money has been deposited quite yet.
Oh, I thought he won.
This was the Asian qualifier to qualify for the World Champions.
My bad.
No problem. It is amazing what the Intel Extreme Master Series is doing, going around the world, getting people together for that big final show. But no, he was just lamenting the fact that he's out and will never even get close to the $100,000 mark.
Gotcha.
And it was an incredible game, Parting vs. Soul Key. It was really cool to see what a perfect execution of what is the strategy right now in a non-swarm host based game of ZVP. And what you do as the Zerg is you get yourself a big ol' army, whatever expensive units you want to use. And the best composition you can have at the Protoss army, and just Parting flies in with this huge pile, overlapping each other, Void Rays, and just decimates poor Broodlords out of the air. And at first you're thinking, is he mad? He's like slowly leaking Broodlords into this force. And so Parting will be like, ooh, there goes another Broodlord, and like kind of deviate off the path straight into his main, which allows Parting the time, or Soul Key the time, to make 40 mutas and just fly in and destroy everything.
So it was just like, oh, thanks for the supply.
Yep.
Wonderful.
That's why I build like my, macro hatch, like right there out in the middle in front of my natural. Because a lot of Terrans will be like, ooh, hatchery. Like, just set up all the siege tanks and just have at it for like 5 minutes. Okay, cool, guys. Enjoy the present while I work on this army.
Nice.
While I hold R down.
But let's talk about GSL, what we were excited about, although I gotta say, looking at the current 3 groups that have completed their runs, my enthusiasm is rapidly decreasing.
Yeah?
Hey, bro. Oh, sorry. Yo, dog. I heard you like Protoss.
It's a lot of Protoss dominance right now.
Yeah, it's rough, and as someone who's not a Protoss fan, it's not wonderful. So hey, Group A, you had 2 Protoss and 2 Zerg. 2 Protoss, move on. Hey, Group B, you had 2 Protoss, a Zerg, and a Terran. 2 Protoss, move on. Group C, apparently Sue didn't get the memo and actually won and moved on. So
wow.
We got 1 Zerg moving on.
Way to mess it up for everyone, Sue.
And that was a 3 Protoss group too, so good on him. And coming first out, he only dropped 1 game.
Well, tomorrow we have Soul Key versus Squirtle. That'll be fun. And, I can see Soul Key getting out of there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and then we get into our run of, our 2 Terran left? Byung and Maru having their chance?
Yeah. That's,
I think
Group F.
I think Mario's going to dominate, though.
In Group F, I really hope it's Maru and Symbol winning.
Yeah,
I hope they move on.
I would agree.
Those are the 2 I want to move out of there. Sorry, Classic.
Classic at all.
There's enough Protoss.
Yep, sorry, Classic. You're very fresh, and you have a very bleached haircut.
And Byung, I'm like not even that big of a fan. Like I don't follow him. But at this point, I'm just like, I hope you win so we get some goddamn variety in the round of 16.
Yeah, I'm so worried, though, that 2 Terrans are going to make it, and then it's going to be TBT. Decide for yourselves. Can only be one.
I tell you what, that'd probably be the best game all damn season, though. I'm biased about TBT. It's really fun to watch. So there. Yeah, congrats to all of you gold and blue glowing bastards. Enjoy your season. The nerfs will come. Winter is coming.
We might have to wait till the end of the season, though, and they don't like to patch in the middle.
I know. Well, I mean, it wouldn't matter. There's already too many Protoss in to begin with. I'm just saying, I'm hoping.
Protoss got nerfed
next season. Yeah, I'm hoping next season that we get a much better racial distribution in Codesk, because, dear God.
Yeah, well, I had to sit there and watch my man DRG go through Code A. And
that was the one I was most excited about, and man, I was so let down.
It's disappointing. He had a good representation, but he just kind of, I think Tastosa said it correctly, where it's like DRG goes, oh, so this is how I play now. And the only way I play now. It's like, well, you got to have more than one strategy. He just swarm hosts and couldn't keep it going.
Yeah. Leonok also was looking really nice. He almost came back in both of his games versus Trap and versus Zest. But it just didn't work.
Zest just dominated that whole group.
Yeah. So I don't want to give Leonok no credit, even though he didn't make it out of Group B, but damn, he put up a good fight. So hope you like Protoss. Let's take an email before we end today's episode, and I run out of saliva in my throat.
Aw.
Emails, you can send them to starcastshow@gmail.com. Our email today comes to us from Steven, who says, what would you suggest for newer players trying to get into the multiplayer aspect, yet are intimidated about learning curves and the highly competitive atmosphere? Well, I would first say it doesn't have to be any more competitive than you want it to be.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily highly competitive. I almost wish they would go the Hearthstone route and just turn chat off in random ladder.
I think that would be an excellent decision.
Actually. I have zero interest in being told why I suck at this game.
But well met.
Yes. Yeah. Emote. That's fine. Give me, if you're Terran, you get to pick whoever's doing your emotes. Like, I would totally have Tychus all the time, just going, how you doing?
Well played.
Well played. If you're Zerg, it could be Kerrigan and Abathur, whatever. Doesn't matter.
That's a great suggestion. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's certainly, when you play Hearthstone, you realize very quickly how awful a chat would be in there.
That would be terrible.
It is turn-based, so there is time for you to just sit there and be a jackass.
Oh, or think. Imagine, there is actually a tough problem to be solved on the board, and you're sitting there trying to think, and your teammates just going, what's wrong, moron? Well, you can't think of what you're doing, noob.
Oh, wow, you took that long to play that card? That's such an obvious choice.
Right, exactly.
But isn't it funny how, the guy goes, I will destroy you, and, then I just start, inserting all these jackass lines for him. It's a very sort of, on the highway experience when you can't communicate with the other person.
That's when you right-click and squelch. When
I'm playing multiplayer and some dude, and your time will come if you are not Protoss right now. Certainly, us Zergs in the past and Terrans in the past have all been that sort of, oh, you're that race, way to play whatever. And I'm just like, dude, type. I don't respond. Just type away. You're wasting your APM.
These people exist in real life too, by the way. The last Magic tournament I was at, there's always that guy who's just like, at the end when you beat him, he's just like, look, if I had pulled this card, I would have won. It's like, yes, if you didn't have to adhere to the rules of the game, you would have had a great time.
Everyone is allowed, when you lose at Magic, to draw the first 4 cards and do the But when you go through your deck and start showing off combos you would have had, that's too much.
It's just like, yes, if only you could play the game however you wanted.
Yeah, I'm sorry the stars didn't align for you.
But a lot about, if you're a new player, a lot about, enjoying, StarCraft ladder and enjoying, the climb is setting your own personal goals. That's what I mean by saying it doesn't have to be any more competitive than you want it to be. Don't be afraid to block jackasses that are spamming you or being jerks. If you want to be really competitive, awesome. There's tons of communities out there where you can make friends and you can get into it. And if you don't, if you set your own goals, like you can even go week to week. Just, hey, I want a different build every week and I want to work at that build. That's a great way to address the game. You now have a goal that you can wrap your head around. You can sit there with your notepad day 9 style and work on it and hash it out and figure out what you're doing wrong. There's a million and one ways, I think, to enjoy StarCraft, and it all depends on your personal play style.
Yeah, I completely agree. What I normally do for myself is I fall in love with a unit every once in a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work on that. And it may not even be a legit strategy, but I am enjoying the process. And hey, I get better at my micro, because I'm just playing in the first place. And there's always the team games to kind of take some of the stress off. 2v2s, I don't recommend if you are worried about stress, just because it's one other guy and he can blame you. But when you start getting into 3s and certainly 4s, no one cares.
4v4 is just such a shit show. Like if you just want to play against other people but you don't want anxiety, just do 4v4. You can just ignore everyone. You can SimCity your base and have a good time. Yeah.
But it's hard because I really enjoy strategy games. I don't really feel the anxiety. This is a question we get a lot, and it's kind of a confusing one for me. Maybe because I have anxiety in other parts of my life and not gaming. No insult, but I'm just like I've got stresses elsewhere. When I sit down for video games, it's me time.
Well, I find that is my, because I do have anxiety when it comes to 1v1, and that's why I find I do way more team games, because I also have anxiety in real life, and I don't want to come home and have anxiety in the thing I do for fun.
Yeah.
So that's why I enjoy team games, especially 2v2s, because I like the brainstorm session that is 2v2 StarCraft. I don't give a flying shit that it's not as well balanced as 1v1, and it's not taken seriously. It's what I really enjoy, and I love the collective brainstorming of sitting there with you, Kyle, and all right, who's counting this time? All right, we go. All right, what does he have? He says this, that, and the other. Okay, what do we do now? What do we do together against what they're doing together to be a victor? And that's what I really enjoy.
Yeah. So. And just a quick mention of another email we got from Disco Rax pointing us towards a Lion Gate sponsored StarCraft 2 tournament.
That thing's going on literally right now as we record.
Yeah. But this was for Ender's Game, which is pretty interesting. I mean, Ender's Game, it's not really a game. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. It wasn't a game. Harrison Ford tricked you. It's an old book.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that, a strategy-based movie war game thing, to celebrate it, they're hosting an invitational.
Yeah, for the release of the Blu-ray, not even the theatrical release.
Yeah.
Which I find strange. I do have to say, though, I feel like it is a surprisingly apt joining. I'm like, okay, well, if a movie was going to sponsor StarCraft, Ender's Game makes probably the most sense of movies to be chosen from.
Yeah. I just hope this isn't some sort of weird trend where, like, Indiana Jones 5 is sponsored by Temple Run. Temple Run tournament.
Oh my God! When the next Indiana Jones comes out, the first game on the App Store is going to be a Temple Run clone where you're Indiana Jones,
probably
running from the boulder the whole time, and then there'll be an alternate level where you're running from the natives with the spears. So there is that.
Hey, you probably putting Ender's Game in front of a StarCraft audience. You'll probably have the right audience.
Yeah, I honestly forgot about it, and this has made me oh, cool, it's out. I need to go see that. Or rent it now, I guess. So, I don't know where I'll rent it from. Blockbuster's gone. Redbox, indeed, yeah. I like Redbox a lot. I feel like it's not a cool nerd thing, because it's not like instant to your freaking TV, but it's $1, and I love it.
Yeah, and there's nowhere else to rent games and cheaply anymore. Like, I remember paying like this was when like Blockbuster was really like flustered and falling, but it was like $9 for 5 days on a video game.
Yep. Yeah, good stuff. Starship Troopers would work pretty well.
Yeah.
Or if they made another Alien movie that actually had Space Marines, that would match up pretty well as well.
Yeah. What was the last one? the last one wasn't AVPR. Has there been one since then?
That's not an Alien movie. That is a piece of garbage.
It was still better than AVP was, though.
It's okay, so it's a slightly less stinky piece of garbage.
Actually, Predator with Hobo Morpheus was really good.
Predators? Yes, that actually.
Yes,
I enjoyed Predators quite a bit, actually. I thought that was a good
surprised.
movie. Yeah, that totally. It's not hard to beat Predator 2 which is pretty much Lethal Weapon sans Mel Gibson with a Predator.
Yeah. With Danny Glover and racism, so that's fun.
I was just waiting for Danny Glover. I'm too old for this space shit. That's what I was waiting for him to say the whole time. Anyways, that'll do it for today's episode.
While I was down visiting my in-laws, we watched Last Vegas. Oh man, those movies about getting old are just rough.
Are they rough or are they incredibly formulaic and you know exactly what you're going to get?
Well, that too.
Sounds
But
good.
apparently getting old is hard and also quite sexy. Apparently.
Okay, chat room wants to ask us questions. We'll take a couple questions before we end the episode. Azothan in the chat room said, if you read the chat, which we're currently doing, what do you guys think of a well-done Warhammer 40k movie or video game? Speaking of Space Marines. Bring it the frick on. I wouldn't be able to buy a ticket to that fast enough.
For the movie or the video game? Because
the movie.
we've had...
I don't believe in the video games. I have yet to play a Warhammer game I actually enjoyed.
They're super disappointing after you played something really crisp like StarCraft. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of extra mechanics like cover, but things just move so clunky. Like I have a copy of all the Warhammer games, the old ones that came out, because of Humble Indie Bundle sales. But I touched them once and was just not interested.
Well, I mean, they made that one that wasn't an RTS called Space Marine.
Right, which was like
actually
God of War. It was that same, but it was the same sort of like God of War 2, Force Unleashed. It's like you put a gun in the Force Unleashed game.
Sort of. Damn, Force Unleashed is a bad game. Space Marine actually played really well. I don't know, it did nothing for me. Also, they're like super cheesy British orcs just made me laugh.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that too. And it's really steeped in lore. Like, I mean, I read Dune recently, and that's something when you're making up shit. But when they're like, the High Council of Barada, and like the dude walks in with a skull on his helmet, it's too much for me.
Yeah,
but I would love at some point to learn to play the actual game. I mean, those basically Zerg. There's a Zerg race in the Warhammer, tabletop that I would just love to have pieces of.
Yeah, absolutely. Warhammer is another one of those things, much like Dungeons and Dragons, where I feel like, I would have been really into this when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I had no friends that were into it.
Nope, and now not as much time for those sort of investments.
No, it really sucks. I miss it. I miss it a lot. So, all right. That'll do it for today's episode. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for writing in. Again, you can do so at starcastshow@gmail.com. If you have not left us a review in the iTunes store and you're a podcast listener of the iTunes Persuasion, please do so. It's the best way to help out the show for free. It's awesome. Helps us get new listeners. StarCast is a production of amove.tv. You can find this and all of the other shows on there, like A-Move Radio with Kyle and myself, or The Angry Chicken with Dills and Jocelyn. You can find more about this show at amove.tv/StarCast. We record live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Our VODs are on youtube.com/StarCast Show, and the mobile live stream is provided by Alpha Geek Radio. Just go to mobile.alphageekradio.com if you want to tune in live, but don't have the bandwidth for video. Or, you like me, believe that the Twitch app is just a bad joke.
I can't even laugh at the joke. It's too bad.
So there's that.
It's a shame, too, because we didn't talk about this, but MLG launched its own viewer for its events, and they're having some rather sketchy ad trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
where if you mute your stream, the ads still come through full blast.
Yeah, I've been having to be real careful about that, considering how we record the show now. We have a new forum up over at forum.amove.tv. Go over there, register, and continue the conversation. There's a nice StarCraft forum, a StarCast forum. get in there and talk about the show, talk about the game, and I'm in there. I read it. Yeah, that's right. I don't always post because I feel like I don't have anything interesting to say. But,
yeah, and on that note, we also are fresh out of emails, so feel free to respond to things we talked about this week, because there's a lot here.
Yeah.
And if you think my idea was complete bull, or you think it was the most awesome thing ever, which I do,
complete
you
bull!
want to see hatcheries turned into hydroless dens.
Wonderful. Follow us on Twitter at the StarCast. I can be found at Garrett Art. Kyle is at Kyle Ferguson. And please check out nomoonart.com for my graphic design portfolio. I'm a graphic designer in my day job. I do a lot of freelance. How I pay the bills. Check it out. Kyle, where can people find you?
You can also find me at Biggest Fan Podcast, where we had a bit of a delay. And I apologize to those. I received actually a number of messages this week about the shows not being posted. So I was a liar. I apologize. We got a little backed up. We're back on schedule now. So when I say what the next episode is, that comes out next Monday. It's not the episode coming out this week. So this week, both God of War and Cowboy Bebop were posted.
Sweet.
We recorded yesterday Adventure Time, which is going to come out Monday. And that was a lot of fun to do.
Adventure
Time. Come on, enjoy your friends.
Yeah.
Good times. And then this week, we're probably doing the most expensive week of Biggest Fan I've ever done. It's Biggest Fan Beef Jerky. And buying 2 packets of that is going to put me in my grave.
Oh, God. You need to go find someone who makes it from scratch. Like go find someone that has a cow farm or something.
Ooh, man.
Fresh beef jerky is amazing.
I love beef jerky.
One of the gentlemen I work with goes out hunting during deer season. He takes a trip to Kentucky.
Way.
And he brought in a big bag of spicy deer jerky. And it is one of the most amazing things I've ever had.
I am a salt fiend, and venison is so salty, and I love it.
Yes. Yes, it is. I could never in a million years look at a deer and shoot it. But if my friend shoots it, I will eat it.
I could bow hunt because I feel like it's a little more fair. And also, you have to track them. And sure, they are suffering for longer. That's very true. So that's why I haven't put myself into this position. But at least it's a little more fair and rustic. It's just OP. He's got antlers. I have ranged weaponry.
Fair enough. Like I said, I don't judge because I love eating it. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, doghousesystems.com and tweakedaudio.com. Our code is StarCast. If you use that code, you'll get double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig, as well as 30% off and free shipping off of your entire order of earbuds from tweakedaudio.com. We thank them for their support. We thank you for listening. We will see you all next week for episode 182. But until then, good luck and have fun.
Take care.
Visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.